Have you ever wished you could design a room without lifting a screwdriver or a paintbrush? Well, you can now with Nano Banana Pro, available inside Adobe Firefly, who are the sponsor of today's videos. But let's get into Adobe Firefly and show you how Nano Banana Pro works inside Adobe Firefly. So here we are, we're inside Adobe Firefly, and this is a board, and this is where I'm coming up with the concepts for this. So what we've got is we've got this plain image here, and we've already seen, you know, if I click on load, you can change the color of the wall or the background color of the wall very easily, and it does a really good job, even kind of like in between all of the plant leaves and everything else like that. It does a really good job. So with Nano Banana Pro, we can now actually reference other images and get them to kind of go into the room. You can change the lighting on there, and it's also got a better engine when it comes to the text side of things. So what I've done on this one is I then came up to the image, and if I click on load, we can see we've got my reference image, which is this one here, and then a client's logo, where I then wanted to kind of like mix this up a little bit, and we can see it's added a poster frame here with the logo on there. It's added it to this little frame here. It also randomly added the logo to the basket down here, and even hid it partly on this item inside of the basket, which is kind of like cute, but it wasn't kind of what I was wanting to go for. So I then kind of like asked it to change the color of the background according to the blue of the logo. And it's done a really good job on here again, behind all of the leaves and all of the cushions and everything else like that. And I kind of like thought, well, you know, it's doing a good job, but I'm pretty sure we could do very similar with Nano Banana. So what I then did was I then came up with this one where I've got a can of Strawberry Matcha-latte, and I asked it to change the background in order to match the wave and the colours from the can. And you can see it's done a really good job on that as well. So I thought, well, you know, that's good. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, hang on a minute, this is, you've now changed and it says boat on there, but that's because I came over and edited this, and I edited the text on the image, and it goes away, finds the text on the image, and you can then update the text on the image. So I changed it from my job quote to my job boat, just as an option there. And then you might think to yourself, well, you want to upscale the image, and you can do that with Topaz. I've been through all this in a video that I'll link up here and also down in the description for you. But where Nano Banana Pro comes into its own is actually taking this image and then resizing it and moving things around. So we can see from this what I ended up doing. If I load the prompt on here, what I said was I want to resize this for social media and make sure it looks good. And you can see on this one, what we've done is we've actually gone for a portrait ratio, which is for Instagram, and it's actually moved the table here along a little bit, and it's actually moved the plant over, and also it's now kind of like made things kind of like all a little bit as if you kind of like got into the room and moved things all a little bit closer, and it's done a really good job of that. The next thing I wanted to do was kind of have a play about with adding the colours from the client's brand logo, and it's done a good job there. And then I kind of like thought to myself, well, it's supposed to kind of like come up with other ideas now where you can put in reference images and ask it to change those. So again, that's what I did. I came up to this image, and if I load the prompt, we can see here I've asked it to replace the sofa in image 1 with the sofa in image 2, but change the colour of the sofa. Okay, so I've asked it for this blue colour of the sofa from the logo there, and you can see it's actually done a really good job. It's even moved the angle. So inside of Nano Banana Pro, you can actually move the camera angles of things as well, and it does a really good job then of concepting those. Again, I did this in a square post and then asked it to resize it to a portrait post, and it's done a really good job in that. And then I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute, what other things can I change in this room? So I went onto Ikea and I found these lamps, which I really liked, and I thought these will look good in the room. And then what we've done is I'll load the prompt again, replace the table lamp on image 1 with the ones in image 2. and it knows exactly where we've gone. We've gone and it's gone, right, well, I know what the table lamps are. Those are those things. And it's replaced them with the ones in the image here that I just copied in from Ikea. And then the next one, which was to replace the table. But what I actually wanted it to do was I wanted it to remove the waste paper basket, because where it had the logo on that, I didn't really like that. I wanted it to remove the waste paper basket. So it's done that. And also I've asked it to then add this in as a table. Now, it replaced this table. What I wanted was the ones under the lamp. And you can see now what I've done is I've asked it to replace the tables underneath the lamps. And it's taken this image of this item from Ikea, just from Ikea's website, and it's actually input those into my room design. Now, I wanted to go a little bit wild on this, and you can see we've kind of come up with all sorts of other kind of like ideas, make it more colourful and welcoming. And then I came up with the idea of animating the room changing around from one to the other. And what I've asked is it to animate swapping out of the furniture and the decor in image 1 with image 2. Now I thought to myself, like, what other things are we going to be able to test on this with Nano Banana Pro? And I took this original image from the IKEA website, and I then chose to like make it more colourful. I gave it kind of like a very vague kind of like look, and I think it's done a really good job there of bringing back some colour. One of the things that I really don't like about modern design inside of interior design in houses is how grey and bland things look. So I wanted to kind of like add in some kind of like idea of adding some extra colour in there, and I really want that rug. So IKEA, if you're watching this, please find a way of making that rug if it doesn't already exist. I've not actually searched to see if it exists. And then again, we then changed this to be our portrait images, and even then I thought to myself, Nano Banana Pro now allows us to change the lighting. So what I said was change the lighting on this to make it look like it's evening and the lights and the lamps are on. And I'm not kidding. Like, look at this. It is exactly the same plant, the same table with the same cushions, but now the lamps and the lights are actually on. And it's actually casting those shadows. As if this lamp is on here, it's casting those shadows up underneath the side of the window frames here, or the photo frames here. And you can see even here, it's actually showing the reflection of the lamp now that we've got the lamp on and it's dark outside. I then thought to myself, well, what can we do? We can kind of like come over here, and let me load this prompt for you. And I said, create a collage of this image of how it might have been decorated through the ages. And I wanted kind of like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020, and also a futuristic style. And that's exactly what it's done for us. Just look at the idea of this. It's absolutely brilliant. So it now looks like might have been decorated through the ages. And it's the same room. It's got the same kind of like window. It's even changed the window where it might have been different in that generation, and it's also generated as a futuristic style looking image. And I thought, right, well, what I like is I kind of like the idea of this 1960s one, but the 1960s table isn't available in IKEA right now. So what I did was I loaded it up and I said, pull out the 1960s image from our collage and add it onto its own page, and add in the table from the 2020s and change the text to say, the 1960s is my favourite, but with the more modern table. And that is exactly what it created. And then I thought to myself, well, we want to start creating some social media posts around this. Let's have some fun. Pull out the elements in this room and turn them into a vision board collage style image. And that's exactly what it's done. It's actually pulled out the rug there, the table. It's got rid of the rest of the chairs, so it's just highlighted on the one table. It's got our curtains, it's got our lampshade, it's got the picture frame and the lamps and the sideboard. It's got everything in there. And now you think to yourself, this is all really good, Darren, but I want to pull this into Adobe Express. Highlight them all up, load, open up in Adobe Express, and then boosh. That's exactly what you've then got. And you can then just, if you wanted to, edit these, schedule them on your social media using Adobe Express's scheduler. And it's just, the workflow on this is amazing, I think you'll find. Now, for a limited time, Creative Cloud members do get unlimited generations of Nano Banana Pro inside of Adobe Firefly. For everybody else, there is 5 generations. If you want to give this a go, I'll put a link to Adobe Firefly and Creative Cloud down in the description below. But thank you very much, and until next time, bye for now.